Hi, welcome to season 2 of my podcast, All About Her. I'm your host, Shreya Anand, and I'm a high schooler interested in STEM. Join me as I speak to various women in STEM to learn all about her experiences and advice for girls like me. Today I'll be speaking to a woman who has gone from doing everything from working with the U.S. Navy on mathematical and scientific research to now being an associate professor at Eastern Illinois University. Today we not only talk about how she got into her career in mathematics, but also how she got over those kind of common misconceptions of what mathematics really means, and also her personal struggles along the way and how she's managed to accomplish so much despite all the struggles that she's faced in her life. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Alejandra Alvarado, and let's get on with the interview. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Alvarado. Could we start off by just introducing what your current career is and what you specialize in?
I received my PhD in mathematics in about 2009. Can't believe how long ago it's been. From Arizona State University. I taught for a while, and I'm currently working for the Navy. I'm right now in Panama City Beach, Florida. My official title down here is scientist, and I'm doing less math and a little bit more sciencey and administrative stuff. So
That sounds really interesting. Just wondering, so did you initially want to go into a teaching job, or were you always kind of set on like hands-on science or math or something like that?
Well, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I've always liked math. Even as a kid, that was something that I've always wanted to do, just anything that had to do with math. When I went to undergrad, I initially was only planning to do a bachelor's degree because that's what I thought was my only option. And so I liked math, but I grew up in Silicon Valley, so I knew I wanted to do something in computer science. So my undergraduate degree was in applied math. But then a professor there, I think he was associate dean of the College of Science, Dr. George Castro from San Jose State University. He's, I think, the first person that I spoke with that talked to me about graduate school. I had no idea there was such a thing called graduate school, that I could go to school, learn more math, and get paid for it. So my mind was blown. So I thought, well, of course, that's what I'm going to do. And so then I ended up going to graduate school without really knowing for sure what I was going to end up doing. So I did teach for a while, and this opportunity came up because of a conversation that I had with a friend that I told her, I had always wanted to work in industry or government and see what that was like. And so when the opportunity came up, I took the chance, and here I am.
So, throughout high school and college and throughout your entire schooling experience, were you kind of always set on math, or how do you think you came upon that realization that you really wanted to do something related to math?
I just always liked math. That was the first, like anytime we had homework, that was the one thing I always wanted to do. I always did my math homework first. And then it's like, all right, I guess I'll go and do my English assignment, or I'll go and, do this other stuff. But I also had some really good math teachers in high school, and I also really liked my physics teacher. So I don't know if I minored in physics because of them or because of him, but that was just something that I always enjoyed. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but that was definitely, once I learned that there was a degree in math, just math, I thought, well, perfect, that's what I'm going to do.
Did your family have backgrounds in like math
growing up, I didn't know anybody in the engineering or sciences or math. My parents didn't really go to school. My mom's from Mexico. My dad's Tex-Mex. Um, my mom may have gone to second grade. Um, my dad may have completed eighth grade. I'm not really sure. But they really didn't have any sort of formal education. So I didn't really have, and I'm an only child, so I didn't really have anybody to talk to about what I was going to do. Um, what's funny is the summer between my eighth grade and ninth grade year, so from middle school to college, I had a friend who was going to do the summer math program. It's called the Jose Valdez Summer Math Institute, which still exists, and it's a great summer program. And she was going to be doing this, and she didn't want to do it alone, so she said, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Sure, a summer of summer school in math. Yes, let's do this." And I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it, and I got a year's worth of high school credit, and I was able to jump ahead, which is exactly what I needed because it seemed as though, so my middle school wasn't very rigorous, and it felt as though I had done the same thing seventh and eighth grade year. And I just remember being really bored. And so this was a great experience. And like I said, I was able to get ahead. And I was even able to return to this program as a teaching assistant and then eventually as a teacher for the program itself. So, yeah.
So what kind of motivated you? Because I know that math is generally not a very like female dominated field, and especially since like in a lot of situations like the teachers in schools that teach math and physics and the sciences are generally male. How do you think you like continued to pursue this, and like how did you do this? It seems really incredible, you know?
Yeah, so my high school math and science teachers, for the most part, were men. Um, the summer program that I was in, that was a woman, so maybe she had something to do with it. And then in college, I do remember having a couple professors that were women, and I excelled in their class, and I really enjoyed having them as instructors. I still remember linear algebra and abstract algebra, um, and they were both very, very helpful, very informative. But yeah, they're really. But in all my other math and science classes, I really didn't. In college, I didn't really have female role models, especially women of color role models. I still remember this one. So when I decided to get my minor in physics, I had this one professor in the advanced class, and he couldn't understand why this math major was in his class. And I had to explain to him, I just need this year-long sequence to get my minor. And I felt, and I thought it was me, but I felt like, he's not very helpful. I would go talk to him during office hours for homework help, and I just felt like I didn't get any response. I learned to go to his office hours with the other students, which were men. And when I did that, then I was able to get the help that I needed. And even then, when I signed up for the second semester, he was like, "Why are you taking my class? Why are you enrolled?" And I just felt, like I said, I thought it was just me. I soon learned talking to other women that it wasn't just me, but it was the other women in the class. And so the harder he pushed, the more I pushed that I'm going to take this class and I'm going to finish it and I'm going to pass it. And I barely passed, but I did. And it was one of the hardest classes that I took because I really wasn't as prepared for that class as I should have been. But his pushing me aside just made me want to work harder. So yeah, that was not too many role models in undergrad. It wasn't until I got to grad school that so you've met Dr. Rad, and it was through her program, the Edge program, that's when I saw all these amazing women that So this was 2002 that I did the program, and I still keep in touch with a lot of these women. They've become family, really, my math family.
That's really incredible. I hear a lot of stories of like women who like just feel really out of place taking a STEM field, and even though they keep pushing, like there's always an opposing force. And I see that even in high school now, how like with each grade as it continues, like fewer girls are taking the advanced classes and fewer girls are being pushed to take these advanced like STEM classes, which is really sad for me to see because a lot of them are my friends, that I've seen since I was really young. And so, kind of just on this topic of some of the struggles that you faced and things like that, what were some of the struggles that you faced prior to your career, and how do they compare to the struggles that you still face currently?
I mean, some of the same things are just that there's not a lot of women in POC in the sciences. I mean, that's something that needs to be worked on. But the other one is that I have my daughter, I have one child, and I had her when I was 17, 18. And so my senior year, basically, I only went for the fall semester. And by the time that semester finished, I had enough credits to graduate. But trying to raise a kid, and then her dad and I got married, and he joined the Air Force, and we moved to North Dakota, the three of us, trying to be an adult, a student, a parent, a wife at 18 was 18 and 19 was really hard. And I only went to school part-time for that period and worked part-time, but that was really hard. I mean, it took a toll on our marriage. After 2 years, we got divorced, but thankfully I had family to come home to that were very helpful. That helped me during my entire academic career. My parents, I can't say enough. Sometimes I think that I got my PhD because of the fact that they never finished school. I wanted to do something. I wanted to go above and beyond and be able to help them, which thankfully I have been able to do, given that I've graduated. But yeah, some of the struggles was from trying to be a parent and a student at the same time. Now, what's interesting is even though I don't have my child to raise anymore, now my worry are my parents because they're elderly, trying to help them from afar during this time. They're in their 80s, and so thankfully my daughter's still in town and she helps, but I try to help what I can from now. So outside of work, these are the struggles that I'm having right now. Is first it was trying to parent a child. Now I'm trying to parent my parents while trying to have a career. So that's been a little tough.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I think when I do these podcasts and I talk so much about careers and like things that you've accomplished, like there's so much behind the scenes that people like don't really talk about, and family is definitely one of the most important things in any situation. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. Uh, so one thing that I know you've touched on a lot of really important moments in your life, but if you could say there was one really important moment where you took away something that you've carried with you, what would that moment be? What would that like learning be?
Like the most impactful moment?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's a hard question. um, I don't know what the most impactful moment is, but I will say that the EDGE program, I mention it again, because that's the one, because it's not just a summer math program for women that want to go to grad school, but it's a network and it's a foundation almost of these, and it's not just women, it's mostly women, but there's a few other people involved that have become mentors or sponsors, meaning, people that can vouch for you, not just, knowing the person that you are, but the work that you do. Um, but, that, like I said, I was introduced to this program in 2002, and these are the people that I go to that have become lifelong friends, that have, when things, I remember when I didn't do well on these. So when you go to grad school, some schools have these qualifying exams that in order to continue on to the next step, you have to pass these exams. And I remember not doing well and being able to reach out to them and trying to find a different program to go to. I remember just getting advice and suggestions and motivation. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for this program, I don't know where I would be right now. I really don't. So that's one impactful moment. Probably the other one was just when I had this professor again, Dr. Castro, because I had gotten a scholarship and they had a breakfast or a luncheon, and he was there. And it was because of him that I was introduced to REUs, research experience for undergrad students, these summer math or these summer research programs, and then these scientific organizations, and then meeting other like-minded students, and working for his program. He really so that was also another very impactful moment, is when this professor reached out to me, right? Because I didn't know what I was doing, and he's the one that introduced me to these other things. And then finally, when I did talk to my math professors, then they were able, I had the right questions, and then they were able to guide me in the right direction. So maybe there were two very impactful moments
I think
that stick out to me.
Yeah, those are really two very important messages where you have to make sure you surround yourself with people like that have similar interests and things like that. And also remembering that you should ask any question that you have because every question is valid. Those are two things that I'm definitely learning as a high schooler now, and I'm really glad that I get to kind of learn that from a young age, so I can apply that when I get older too. Uh, yeah.
Yeah, so you remind me. I remember when I was first started teaching at the college level, I remember talking to students about REUs, and they were like, well, what's that? What's an REU? And that's when I realized, well, of course they don't know what an REU is. How would they even know to even search for something like this or know that there were these experiences? So then what I ended up doing was, when I would write up my syllabus, everything was on my website, and I would tell them, okay, here's the link to my website. You look for, and then I would put a link to my class, but not just that, I would actually put in there a link to the other classes that I was teaching, a link about me, and also a link for REU, and I think I even spelled it out, and I would put in there like, what's an REU and why should I do one? And then I would go and talk about what it is. So I would force them to go to my website, which had information about these summer programs and even conferences and different math research topics, so that they could, right away I can direct them and give them the information that, or answer the questions that they didn't even know they had.
So last kind of closing question. I know you, again, like throughout your interview, you've given so much great advice, but if you could kind of have any advice for other girls that want to pursue math or science, or anyone who wants to just kind of go into a STEM field, do you have any advice for them?
So one thing that I thought of when I was looking at these questions was something that had been brought up to me, was that the job that you end up doing may not even exist yet. And the example that was given to me was something like data science. I think maybe there was some sort of data science career back in the day, but maybe there wasn't a formal name to it. But now there's a whole lot of that's like the big trend, that and can't remember what else, something in like voting and gerrymandering or something like that. But I would have to say that, try to take in college as an undergrad, I think you're supposed to take a variety of different classes, right, to kind of see what you want to do. And I think definitely do that, try to take a variety, don't try to take the easy class. Try to take a variety, be challenged. Challenge yourself because you don't know what you may end up enjoying. But, ultimately you got to decide on the major. But I would have to say, maybe don't focus so much on what career I want to do, but maybe you think more about, what are the topics that I like? What are the topics that I'm interested in? Even, if don't be afraid to talk to one of your professors. I would say regardless of, if you know you want to do a science, talk to a professor regardless of the topic or the material, and see if they have a project or maybe something that they might want you, maybe they need help on something, on gathering data on a certain topic, and you might, you talk to them and they might say, sure, come help me and work with me. And then you get an idea of what is the work that they're doing and what are the tools that they're using. And you never know. You may end up, switching directions, but still related to the material that you or the coursework that you like.
So, just overall, I think some of the main things that I kind of took away from this is like to make sure that you're always asking questions again, and to always kind of surround yourself with people of the similar interests so that you don't feel discouraged no matter what happens. And with both these experiences, I think your story just really shows them really beautifully. I think how you went from not just knowing that you really liked math to now pursuing that field no matter what obstacles came your way. And I think that's just a really great example for anyone who wants to pursue any field, not even just a STEM field. So thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Alvarado. I really appreciate
you
sharing and everything like that. So thank you so much. I hope you guys really enjoyed today's interview as much as I did, because I learned so much from Dr. Alvarado in terms of both mathematics and her entire experience in the field, but also how her personal struggles and things like that have really helped her become who she is today. Don't forget to go ahead and like and comment down below. Make sure you tell me any suggestions you might have for future interviews. I will continue for the rest of summer, these last few weeks, to put out an episode every single week so you guys can be introduced to many more amazing women, and after that get back into a normal kind of schedule for the rest of the school year. And of course, make sure that you check out my Instagram and Dr. Alvarado's LinkedIn down below as well for a lot more information if you're interested in that. But as always, be sure to stay safe, stay strong, and stay snazzy. Go Team USA!